The vast emptiness of space near the outer rim of the Zenovian Empire suddenly lit up with flashes of blue light. Where there had been nothing but stars moments before, now hung over 200 massive vessels of unknown design. Their hulls gleamed with a metallic sheen that reflected the distant starlight, and strange blue energy pulsed from their engines. In the Imperial Palace on Zenovia Prime, alarms blared through the ornate halls. Grand Counselor Xylar rushed into the central command chamber, his ceremonial robes fluttering behind him. "What is happening?" he demanded, his voice sharp with worry. The tactical officer, a slender Zenovian with pale blue skin, gestured to the main display. "Unknown vessels, sir. They appeared at the edge of the Vermilion sector without warning. Our sensors count at least 200 ships." Xylar's four eyes widened. 200? Impossible. No species we've encountered has such numbers. He stepped closer to examine the holographic display. The vessels were arranged in a formation that spoke of military discipline, yet they made no aggressive moves. They simply held position as if waiting. "Have they made contact?" Xylar asked. "No, sir. They remain silent." Xylar stroked his chin tentacles in thought. "Alert Emperor Draxus, and send a scout ship to observe them from a distance." Across the void of space aboard the flagship Liberty, Admiral John Mitchell stood with his hands clasped behind his back. The bridge hummed with activity as crew members monitored their stations. Through the main viewport, he could see the distant sparkle of alien monitoring satellites. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Commander Ryan Scott, his executive officer. John nodded, his face serious. At 57, with gray streaking his dark hair, he carried the weight of humanity's first major interstellar mission on his shoulders. "Status of the alien observers? 3 small vessels approaching, sir, keeping their distance. Likely scout ships. They're cautious." "Good." John turned to where Lisa Wright sat at the communication station. "Time to introduce ourselves, Lieutenant. Send the greeting package on all frequencies." Lisa, a woman in her early 30s with short brown hair, nodded and pressed several controls on her console. "Transmitting now, sir." The message that streamed from the Liberty contained carefully crafted greetings in mathematical code, visual representations of humans, and basic information about Earth. Scientists and linguists had spent years preparing this first contact protocol, designing it to be understood by any intelligent species regardless of their biology or language. John watched the alien scout ships on the display. Now we wait. In the Imperial throne room, Emperor Draxus received the news with cold fury. Nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent scales covering his muscular frame, he cut an imposing figure, even when seated on his crystal throne. "How did they approach without detection?" he demanded of his military council. General Krell, head of Imperial Defense, bowed low. "Their technology must include some form of stealth capability that our sensors cannot detect, Your Majesty. They simply appeared. And their weapons, their intentions? Unknown, sire. But they have sent a transmission. Our linguists are decoding it now." Draxus leaned forward, his clawed hands gripping the armrests of his throne. "I want to know everything about these intruders. Where they come from, what they want, and most importantly, how they developed such a large fleet without our knowledge." Throughout the Empire, news of the alien armada spread quickly. On thousands of worlds under Zenovian rule, beings of all descriptions gathered around viewing screens, sharing worried whispers. The Empire had stood unchallenged for 3 millennia, expanding steadily, absorbing or conquering hundreds of species. Most newly discovered civilizations possessed only primitive technology, making them easy to subjugate or control. But these newcomers were different. Back on the Liberty, hours passed as they waited for a response. The bridge crew remained at their stations, alert but calm. "Admiral," Lisa called out, "we're receiving a transmission. It appears to be a reply." John straightened his uniform. On screen, the main display flickered, and an alien face appeared. It had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on a hairless blue head, with small tentacles where a human would have a mouth. The creature spoke, its words translated by the ship's computer with a slight delay. I am Grand Counselor Xylar of the Zenovian Empire. You have entered Imperial space uninvited. Identify yourselves and state your purpose. John stepped forward. I am Admiral John Mitchell of Earth's United Defense Fleet. We come in peace, seeking diplomatic relations with your civilization and others in this sector of space. Xylar's eyes narrowed. You approach with a military fleet and claim peaceful intentions? Our vessels serve both defense and exploration purposes, John replied evenly. Where we come from, it's wise to be prepared. But I assure you, we seek only peaceful contact and mutual exchange of knowledge. After a moment's pause, Xylar responded, The Emperor has agreed to meet with your representatives. You will send a small shuttle to the coordinates we provide. 3 of your kind only, unarmed. When the transmission ended, John turned to face his officers. Opinions? Lisa spoke first. Their tone was hostile, sir, demanding rather than welcoming. Agreed, said Ryan, but not unexpected. They seem to be the dominant power in this region. They're probably not used to meeting equals. John nodded. Get me Ambassador Garcia. He needs to prepare for a first contact situation. In his quarters aboard the support vessel Concordia, Sam Garcia was already reviewing everything they had learned about the Zenovians from the brief exchange. At 45, with distinguished features and calm demeanor, he had been chosen for his extensive background in international diplomacy on Earth. When John briefed him on the upcoming meeting, Sam's expression remained thoughtful. A show of force followed by a demand for submission, classic power tactics. Can you handle it? John asked. Sam smiled slightly. Admiral, I've negotiated peace treaties in Earth's worst conflict zones. I'll manage some blue aliens with superiority. Complexes. His smile faded, but we should be prepared for complications. Based on their reaction, they're used to being the biggest fish in the pond. You'll have a direct line to me, John assured him. At the first sign of trouble, we extract you. 12 hours later, a small human shuttle descended toward the meeting point, a space station orbiting the 4th planet in the nearby system. Inside, Sam sat with 2 assistants, Ben Howard, a cultural specialist, and Diane Nelson, a xenobiologist. Remember, Sam told them, we represent not just Earth but all of humanity. First impressions matter. The shuttle docked with a soft thud. As the airlock cycled, Sam straightened his diplomatic uniform, a dark blue outfit with Earth's new interstellar insignia, a stylized globe with stars on the shoulder. The door slid open, revealing 3 Zenovians waiting in the corridor beyond. Their blue skin gleamed under the station lights, and their 4 eyes studied the humans with undisguised curiosity and suspicion. Welcome to Imperial Station Oryx 7, said the central figure who wore elaborate robes. I am Counselor Vex, appointed by Emperor Draxus to assess your species. Sam stepped forward and offered a slight bow. Thank you for receiving us. I am Ambassador Sam Garcia, representing the United Earth government and all of humanity. As they walked through the station toward the meeting chamber, Sam noted the advanced technology around them, mentally comparing it to Earth's own developments. The Zenovians had clearly been a spacefaring civilization for much longer than humans, yet in some areas, particularly in their ship designs he had observed, humanity seemed to have taken different developmental paths. The meeting room featured a large oval table with the Zenovian delegation already seated on one side. At the head sat a figure whose elaborate dress and posture clearly marked him as the highest-ranking official. Ambassador, Vex announced, you stand before Grand Vizier Malco, voice of Emperor Draxus. Sam bowed respectfully, but not submissively. Grand Vizier, we thank you for this opportunity to establish relations between our civilizations. Malco studied the humans with all 4 eyes. Your arrival has caused quite a stir, Ambassador. It is rare for us to encounter a species with such unexpected capabilities, and thus began humanity's first diplomatic exchange with the Galactic Empire, a conversation that would set the course for everything that followed. 3 weeks had passed since the first meeting between humans and Zenovians. What began with cautious hope had quickly turned sour. Sam Garcia sat in his temporary office aboard the Liberty, reading the latest message from the Imperial Palace. His expression grew darker with each line. "They can't be serious," he muttered before calling Admiral Mitchell. When John arrived, Sam handed him the tablet. "The Empire's new demands. They want us to reduce our fleet by half and share our faster-than-light technology with them." John's face hardened as he read. "This isn't diplomacy, it's an ultimatum." "Exactly." Sam rose and paced the small room. "We've tried to be reasonable. We've shared information about Earth, offered trade agreements, even proposed joint exploration missions. But they keep pushing for more control, more concessions. What's their justification this time? The same as before. They claim that as the established power in this sector, all new species must submit to Imperial authority and protection." Sam shook his head. "Protection that comes with a very high price." John set down the tablet. "We need to inform President Daniels." Back on Earth, Patricia Daniels received the news in the Oval Office. At 58, with silver-streaked black hair and a commanding presence, she had led humanity through its first steps into interstellar politics. Now she faced her biggest challenge yet. "So the Zenovians won't accept us as equals," she said to the screen, showing John and Sam. "What's your assessment of their military capabilities?" "Advanced, but not overwhelmingly so," John replied. "Their ships are larger than ours, but our scans suggest their weapons technology hasn't evolved much in centuries. They've had no real competitors to drive innovation." Patricia nodded. "And if they attack?" "We can defend ourselves, Madam President, but I'm more concerned about their numbers. Our intelligence suggests the fleet we've seen is just a small part of their total forces." "I understand." Patricia stood, walking to the window that overlooked the Washington Monument. "Ambassador Garcia, continue negotiations but make our position clear. We won't disarm, and we won't hand over our technology. Earth will not become a vassal state to an alien empire, no matter how ancient." As tensions grew between humans and Zenovians, other species throughout the Empire watched, with growing interest. On the planet Taraxa, once a proud independent world now under Imperial rule, the local governor received secret communications from resistance leaders. "These humans stand against the Empire," said Voral, a tall insectoid being whose people had been conquered a century ago. "If they succeed, it could change everything." His companion Kalax clicked her mandibles nervously. "Or they could be crushed, and the Empire would tighten its grip even further." "Either way," Voral replied, "we should prepare. Change is coming one way or another." On Zenovia Prime, Emperor Draxus convened his High Council. The vast chamber, with its soaring crystal arches and ancient artifacts, had seen countless debates over the Empire's 3,000-year history. Never before had the topic been so contentious. "These humans refuse to accept their proper place," Draxus growled, his clawed hand striking the arm of his throne. "They persist in treating us as equals, when the natural order demands their submission." "General," Krell stepped forward. "My Emperor, let me take the Third Fleet to their position. One decisive strike will show them the futility of resistance." From the opposite side of the chamber, Counselor Thalia spoke up. Her voice was calm compared to Krell's aggressive tone. "With respect, that would be most unwise. We still know too little about their capabilities." "Explain," Draxus demanded. Thalia activated a holographic display in the center of the room. "Our intelligence division has analyzed their fleet movements and communications. The vessels we've seen may only be a fraction of their total strength. And their technology, particularly their faster-than-light drives, is completely different from our own." Merrick, the chief of Imperial Intelligence, joined her at the display. "Humans developed from primitive technology to space travel in a mere 3 centuries. Most species take thousands of years to make the same progress. Their adaptability makes them unpredictable and potentially very dangerous." Draxus's eyes narrowed. "You suggest we should fear them? They are newcomers, barely out of their planetary cradle." "Not fear, Majesty," Merrick replied carefully. "Caution. Their historical records show a species with an unprecedented capacity for both warfare and innovation. When threatened, they become remarkably unified and resourceful." The debate continued. For hours, with the council split between those who favored immediate military action and those who urged a more careful approach. Finally, Draxus raised his hand for silence. "We will test them," he declared. "Increase patrols near their fleet. Push against their boundaries. Let us see how they respond to pressure." In the days that followed, human ships found themselves increasingly harassed by Imperial patrols. Zenovian warships would approach dangerously close, weapon systems active before veering away at the last moment. Aboard the Liberty, Admiral Mitchell watched another such encounter on the main screen. The Zenovian cruiser passed within 100 meters of one of his patrol ships, a clear provocation. "They're trying to make us shoot first," observed Olivia Martinez, his tactical officer. "Classic intimidation tactics." John nodded. "Double our patrol ships, but maintain defensive postures only. No one fires unless fired upon." Meanwhile, Sam Garcia's diplomatic team struggled in their negotiations. The Zenovian representatives became more demanding with each meeting, clearly following a strategy to wear down human resistance through endless requests and complaints. "The Empire has protected this sector for millennia," stated Vizier Malco during one particularly tense session. "Your arrival with military vessels threatens the peace we have established." "With respect," Sam replied, keeping his voice even, "we have threatened no one. We seek only recognition as an independent species with the right to explore and establish peaceful relations." Malco's 4 eyes blinked in what Sam had learned was an expression of disdain. "Independence is an illusion, Ambassador. In this galaxy, one either rules or is ruled. There is no middle ground." As Sam left the meeting, an aide handed him a message from Earth. Reading it, he felt a chill run down his spine. The Zenovians had begun approaching human colony ships at the edge of the fleet, demanding inspections and threatening to board them. "This has gone far enough," he told his team. "I need to speak with Admiral Mitchell immediately." In a secure conference room aboard the Liberty, John, Sam, and the senior staff reviewed the situation. "They're pushing harder each day," John said. "Testing our limits, looking for weaknesses," Sam nodded. "And in diplomatic channels, they've started hinting at consequences if we don't comply soon." Lisa Wright, now serving as intelligence coordinator, displayed a series of images on the room's main screen. "We've detected increased movement in their fleet. Ships that were stationed at these positions have begun moving toward our location." "Preparations for an attack?" John asked. "Possibly. Or another show of force." John turned to Sam. "The President needs to know we may be heading toward conflict." Back on Earth, Patricia Daniels received their report with grim determination. She immediately convened an emergency session of the Global Council, the governing body representing all Earth nations in space policy. "The Zenovian Empire has made its position clear," she told the assembled representatives. "They demand our submission, the reduction of our fleet and access to our technology. These are not the actions of a peaceful civilization seeking coexistence." From his seat, Defense Secretary Alan Burke spoke up. "Madam President, if war comes, we should strike first, hit them before they're fully prepared." Patricia shook her head firmly. "We did not come all this way to become the aggressors, Secretary Burke. Humanity will defend itself if attacked, but we will not fire the first shot." She turned back to address the full council. "I am authorizing Admiral Mitchell to move our reserve fleet from Earth to forward positions. If the Zenovians want war, they'll find we're ready. But our path remains focused on peace through strength and diplomatic engagement." As the council session ended, Patricia stayed behind, gazing at the global map that showed the positions of human ships throughout nearby space. Humanity had worked so hard to reach the stars, overcoming centuries of division and conflict. Now, just as they had found their place in the galaxy, they faced their greatest challenge yet. "We didn't come this far to kneel," she whispered to herself. "And we certainly didn't come this far to fail." The sun rose over Outpost Zeta 9, a newly established human research station near the border of Imperial space. Built on a small asteroid, the station's main purpose was to study local space phenomena and serve as a forward listening post. Commander Eric Foster stood in the observation dome watching the stars, His morning routine was interrupted when alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. "Commander, to the command center immediately," announced the station's AI. Eric ran through the corridors, passing crew members rushing to their emergency stations. When he reached the command center, the situation screen showed 3 large Zenovian warships approaching the station. "They just appeared from hyperspace, sir," reported his second-in-command, Linda Baker. "No warning." "Open communications," Eric ordered, straightening his uniform. The main screen flickered to life, showing a stern-faced Zenovian officer. "I am Captain Grex of the Imperial Cruiser Dominance. Your station is suspected of developing weapons against the Empire. We demand immediate inspection." Eric kept his expression neutral, though his heart raced. "Captain Grex, this is a research facility operating in accordance with diplomatic agreements between Earth and the Zenovian Empire. We respect your concerns, but must deny your inspection request." Grex's 4 eyes narrowed. "Denial is not an option. You will allow our inspection teams aboard within 1 hour, or we will consider it an act of hostility." The screen went dark before Eric could respond. "They've taken up positions around the station," Linda reported. "We're surrounded." "Contact Admiral Mitchell," Eric said. "Tell him we have a situation." Aboard the Liberty, Admiral Mitchell received the message with controlled anger. He immediately called a meeting with his senior officers. "The Zenovians have crossed a line," he told them. "They're threatening one of our stations in clear violation of diplomatic agreements." "Rules of engagement, sir?" asked Ryan Scott. "We break that blockade without firing first if possible," John replied. "But we protect our people at all costs." He turned to his communications officer. "Get me Captain Brooks. The Defiance is closest. To Zeta 9. Captain Heather Brooks was 42 with short blonde hair and a reputation for cool-headed decision-making. When she received her orders, she immediately set the Defiance and its escort ships on course for the outpost. "Weapons on standby, shields at maximum," she ordered. "Let's hope we can solve this without a fight, but be ready if we can't." As they approached the outpost, sensors detected the 3 Zenovian cruisers holding position around the station. They were large vessels with distinctive wing-like structures extending from their central hulls, bristling with weapon ports. "Open a channel," Heather commanded. When the connection was established, she spoke clearly and firmly. "This is Captain Heather Brooks of the Earth Alliance vessel Defiance. You are in violation of diplomatic accords. Withdraw your vessels immediately. Endiwe Natui." Screen, Captain Grex appeared even more hostile than before. "Your arrival is unwelcome, human. This station is harboring illegal weapons research. The Empire has authority to inspect all facilities in this sector." "This station is sovereign Earth territory," Heather replied. "Your claims are unfounded, and your blockade is illegal. I repeat, withdraw your vessels." Grex's posture stiffened. "We do not recognize your claims of sovereignty. This is Imperial space." Heather's expression remained calm, but her voice hardened. "I am instructed to break this blockade by any means necessary. I would prefer to do so peacefully." The Zenovian captain's face showed a mixture of anger and contempt. "You are outnumbered, human. Your single ship cannot stand against 3 Imperial cruisers." "I don't want to fight, Captain, but I will protect our station." After a moment of tense silence, Grex replied, "Then you leave us no choice." The communication ended abruptly. On the tactical display, Heather saw the Zenovian ships begin to move, taking up attack positions. "They're targeting our weapon systems," reported her tactical officer, Kevin Ward. "Energy readings suggest they're preparing to fire." Heather nodded. "Maintain defensive posture. Do not fire unless fired upon." The crew watched in tense silence as the Zenovian cruisers maneuvered around them. Years of training had prepared them for this moment, but the reality of being the first humans to face alien hostility weighed heavily on everyone. Suddenly, energy readings spiked on one of the Imperial vessels. "They're firing!" Kevin shouted. The Defiance rocked slightly as the Zenovian weapon hit its shields. The impact was far less severe than expected. "Shield integrity at 97%, reported the defense officer, sounding surprised. "Minimal impact." Heather's eyes narrowed. They fired a warning shot, deliberately weak. She understood the message. The Zenovians were showing restraint while still asserting dominance. "Your orders, Captain?" Kevin asked. Heather considered her options. Every crew member on the bridge watched her, waiting for her decision. This moment would set a precedent for all future human Zenovian military encounters. "Target their weapons. Systems only," she ordered. "Disable. Don't destroy." The Defiance's advanced targeting system locked onto the weapon ports of the lead Zenovian cruiser. When Heather gave the command to fire, precision energy beams struck the Imperial vessel, with surgical accuracy. The effect was immediate and shocking. The Zenovian ship's external weapons went completely dark, and it drifted slightly out of formation. "Direct hit," Kevin reported. "Their weapons are offline." Before the other Zenovian ships could respond, Heather ordered shots at their weapons, systems as well. Within minutes, all three Imperial vessels had been effectively neutralized without causing major damage to their hulls or life support. "Open communication again," Heather commanded. Captain Grex's face appeared on screen, now showing a mix of rage and disbelief. "This is an act of war. How dare you?" "Your ships are disabled but not destroyed," Heather interrupted calmly. "We could have done much worse. This station remains under Earth protection. Leave now, and this incident need not escalate further." After a moment of shocked silence, Grex ended the transmission without responding. Shortly after, the three Zenovian vessels slowly turned and moved away from the station. "They're retreating," Kevin announced as cheers erupted across the bridge. Heather allowed herself a small smile but quickly restored order. "Contact Commander Foster. Let him know the blockade is broken." "And Admiral Mitchell?" asked her communications officer. "Tell him mission accomplished. No casualties on either side." News of what would become known as the Zeta Incident spread rapidly throughout human space and the Zenovian Empire. On Earth, media outlets broadcast details of the confrontation, showing images of the Defiance facing down three enemy cruisers. President Daniels addressed an emergency session of the Global Council. The actions of the Zenovian Empire forced our hand. Captain Brooks showed admirable restraint, disabling rather than destroying the hostile vessels. However, this incident marks a dangerous escalation. In the Imperial Palace on Zenovia Prime, Emperor Draxus received the news with cold fury. "How is this possible?" he demanded of General Krell. "3 of our cruisers defeated by a single human vessel?" Krell's scales had paled with fear. "The humans' weapons technology is far more advanced than our intelligence suggested, Your Majesty. Their targeting systems disabled our weapons with precision we cannot match. And their defenses? Our shots barely affected their shields. Our estimates of human military capability were significantly flawed." Draxus slammed his fist on the arm of his throne. "Find out how they developed such technology without our knowledge. I want every Imperial fleet on high alert." Throughout the Empire, the news spread like wildfire despite attempts to suppress it. On worlds long dominated by Zenovian rule, oppressed species whispered of the humans who had stood against Imperial might, and won. Aboard the Liberty, Admiral Mitchell reviewed Captain Brooks's report with mixed emotions. Pride in her performance, mingled with concern over what would happen next. "It was a textbook operation," he told her over the secure channel. "You protected our people without unnecessary destruction." "Thank you, sir," Heather replied. "But what happens now? The Zenovians won't take this lightly." John's expression grew serious. "No, they won't. This changes everything. We've shown we can defend ourselves, but we've also forced them to decide whether they want peace or war." In her office on Earth, President Daniels faced the same question. Her military advisors pushed for mobilization of all reserves, arguing that conflict was now inevitable. Others counseled restraint, suggesting one last diplomatic push. As she weighed these options, messages arrived from across human space. Colony worlds, research stations, and outposts, all reporting the same thing. The Zenovians were pulling back, their ships creating a buffer zone between their forces and human territory. "They're reassessing," her intelligence chief explained. The Zeta incident forced them to recognize we're not an easy target. Patricia nodded slowly. Then we have a window of opportunity. Send a message to Ambassador Garcia. Tell him I want one more attempt at negotiation. But this time, we negotiate as equals, not supplicants. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next between the ancient empire and the newcomers who had so dramatically announced their presence. 6 months after the Zeta incident, representatives from Earth and the Zenovian Empire gathered on neutral ground, a space station hastily constructed at the midpoint between their territories. The station's central chamber featured a large, circular table, symbolizing the equal status that had been so hard-won. Sam Garcia entered alongside President Patricia Daniels, who had insisted on attending the historic meeting personally. Across the table sat the Zenovian delegation, led not by Emperor Draxus but by his daughter, Princess Lyra. This was the first public appearance of the princess in an official capacity, a fact not lost on Sam. Imperial sources had hinted at major political upheaval within the empire following the embarrassment of the Zeta incident. "Welcome to Peace Station," Sam said formally. "We appreciate the Empire's willingness to move forward in a spirit of cooperation." Princess Lyra, tall and regal with iridescent blue scales and intelligent eyes, nodded. Unlike her father's aggressive posture, she carried herself with calm dignity. "The time for conflict has passed," she replied. "Today we forge a new path." As the formal negotiations began, Admiral John Mitchell stood on the observation deck of the Liberty, watching the proceedings on a large screen. The flagship now served as the centerpiece of a permanent defensive formation near the new border. "Historic day," commented Ryan Scott, who had recently been promoted to captain with his own command. John nodded. "One I wasn't sure we'd live to see." The path to this moment had been difficult. After the Zeta incident, the Empire had withdrawn its forces but increased military production throughout its territories. Earth had done the same, preparing for possible war while still pursuing diplomatic solutions. The turning point came unexpectedly, when Emperor Draxus was forced to abdicate following mounting pressure from both planetary governors and military leaders who recognized the futility of conflict with Earth. Princess Lyra, long considered the moderate voice in the imperial family, had stepped forward with a new vision for the Empire, one that recognized the changing galactic landscape. Back in the negotiation chamber, Patricia Daniels addressed the gathering. For thousands of years, the Zenovian Empire has been the dominant force in this sector of space. Earth respects your history and achievements. We come not to challenge your existing territories, but to establish our right to explore and develop. As an independent civilization, Princess Lyra listened attentively before responding. The Empire has followed the same path for millennia, expansion and dominance. Recent events have shown us the limitations of this approach. Perhaps it is time for new ideas. Over the next several hours, the two sides hammered out the details of what would become known as the Historic Accord of Mutual Recognition. The agreement established clear borders between human and Zenovian territories, protocols for trade, and frameworks for resolving future disputes. Most significantly, it formally recognized Earth and its colonies as a sovereign entity with equal standing to the Empire, something unprecedented in Zenovian history. As Patricia signed the document, she glanced at Sam. "Did you ever imagine your diplomatic mission would end like this?" Sam smiled slightly. "Not exactly. I was prepared for years of careful negotiations, not a crisis followed by revolution." "Sometimes history has its own timetable," Patricia replied, handing the ceremonial pen to Princess Lyra. The impact of the Earth-Zenovian Accord extended far beyond the two powers. Throughout the galaxy, other species watched these events with growing hope and interest. On the planet Taraxa, Voral and his fellow resistance leaders gathered around a hidden communication device, listening to news of the treaty. "It has begun," Voral said quietly. "If the humans could force the Empire to recognize them as equals, perhaps we too can regain our independence." Similar conversations occurred on dozens of worlds under Imperial rule. Species that had been subjugated for generations now looked to Earth as a potential ally and model. Admiral Mitchell, now promoted to fleet commander, oversaw the establishment of human defensive positions throughout formerly contested space. Under the new treaty, Earth had gained rights to several unclaimed systems that the Empire had previously declared off-limits to other species. "We didn't come looking for war," he remarked during the treaty signing ceremony, "but we will always be prepared to defend ourselves." Princess Lyra, who would soon be formally crowned as Empress Lyra, approached him after the ceremony. "Your ships are impressive, Fleet Commander. I would be interested to learn how humanity developed such advanced technology in isolation." John smiled diplomatically. "Perhaps in time, Highness. For now, let's focus on maintaining peace between our peoples." Lyra's four eyes studied him carefully. "You should know that not everyone in the Empire supports this treaty. My father still has many loyal followers who believe in Zenovian supremacy. I'd be surprised if there weren't opposition," John replied. "Change is never easy, especially for an empire that has known only expansion for thousands of years." "Indeed. Which is why I hope our species can learn from each other. Your adaptability is remarkable." Back on Earth, citizens celebrated the treaty with parades and festivals. Humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage, standing firm against an ancient empire and emerging as an equal power. Schools taught children about the historic first contact, diplomatic tensions, and the Zeta incident that had changed everything. Yet, for all the celebration, Earth's leaders remained cautious. The military continued to develop new technologies and expand the fleet. President Daniels authorized increased production of defensive systems for all human colonies and outposts. "Peace through strength," she told her advisors. "We've earned the Empire's respect, but we must maintain it." Ambassador Sam Garcia found his role changing in unexpected ways. Representatives from dozens of species approached him secretly, seeking alliances and protection from Imperial control. Though Earth could not openly challenge the Empire's authority over its existing territories, Sam established unofficial channels of communication with these resistance movements. Meanwhile, President Daniels authorized the release of certain technologies to improve quality of life throughout the sector, earning humanity powerful allies and establishing them as a benevolent force. Medical advances, agricultural improvements, and clean energy systems were shared freely with any civilization that requested them. 3 months after the treaty signing, Sam received an encrypted message from Voral of Taraxa. The resistance leader reported growing unrest throughout the outer regions of the Empire, with several planets openly calling for autonomy. "The wave you started is spreading," Voral wrote. "The Empire can no longer maintain its grip when its subjects have seen that. Freedom is possible." Sam shared this information with Patricia during a secure meeting in the White House. "We're witnessing the beginning of a galactic revolution," he told her. "Not through warfare, but through the power of example." Patricia looked thoughtful. "We never intended to dismantle the Empire." "Perhaps not," Sam agreed. "But by standing firm and refusing to submit, we showed others that the Empire isn't invincible. The rest is happening naturally." On the bridge of the Liberty, now the centerpiece of a permanent diplomatic flotilla, John Mitchell gazed at the stars. His executive officer, Ryan Powell, joined him by the viewport. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this when we first set out?" Ryan asked. John shook his head. "We set out to find our place in the galaxy. Instead, we've reshaped it. As humans explored further into space, establishing colonies and making contact with more civilizations, one thing became clear to all observers. The arrival of humanity's fleet hadn't merely shaken the Galactic Empire, it had forever altered the course of galactic history. The old order of imperial dominance was ending. A new era of cooperation, competition, and complexity was beginning. And humanity, the newcomers who had arrived with surprising force and unexpected wisdom, would play a central role in whatever came next. In the Imperial Palace on Zenobia Prime, soon-to-be Empress Lyra stood on her balcony, watching the twin moons rise over the capital city. Her advisors had left her with reports of growing independence movements across the Empire. "Perhaps it was inevitable," she said softly to herself. "Nothing lasts forever, not even empires." She turned and walked back inside, already planning how to transform her inheritance into something that could survive in this new galaxy. A galaxy where humanity had proven that even newcomers could shape the future,